The Brits appear split. Polls showing the votes for stay and the votes for leave are neck and neck. British Prime Minister David Cameron, as Benjamin noted, wants to stay, but Daniel Hannan, member of the European Parliament for South East England, he wants to leave. Mr. Hannan goes on the record. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Greta.
Why do you want to leave? Why do you want the UK out of the EU?
We want to take back control of our laws, of our democracy, of our borders, and of our taxes and our money. We certainly don't want to cut all ties with Europe, as Benjamin was saying just there. I've never heard anyone suggesting that. We just want a gradual return of powers so that we can be a self-governing country such as you or any other independent state in the world takes for granted.
I read an article where I think it's quoting you, which says Angela Merkel, who is, of course, the Chancellor of Germany, has bagged Cameron's support in Europe. Is that what you wrote or said?
It doesn't sound like me, but I mean the issue here is, as you were just hearing, it's a very evenly divided vote. At this point, with the first results trickling in, it's impossible to tell who's won, but we can tell that it's fairly close. And what that means is that whichever side wins, it's going to have to take account of the fact that the other side represents a very large minority. So if, as I hope, the country has voted to leave, we need to carry with us the nearly 50% of people who have voted to stay. That's not going to be a mandate to do anything precipitate or radical or unilateral. We'll want to move with the approval, wherever possible, with the consent of our European allies, towards getting some powers back, but of course remaining in a market, remaining military allies of the other countries, keeping our intergovernmental cooperation. You know, this is not about walking away from Europe, it's about repatriating laws.
The Queen usually stays out of, I think, things like this, but has the Queen said anything at all?
As you say, she's been reported as asking her dinner party guests whether there's any good reasons to be in the EU, but you know, by convention we don't comment on what she's reported as saying.
Okay, so what's the impact on Prime Minister Cameron? Obviously, if the vote is to get out of the EU, that hurts him because he wants to stay in. But what if it's even a close vote? You talk about sort of the 50-50, and you have half the people with very strong views one way and half the other.
Well, that's right. I mean, I think obviously he and I have been on opposite sides on this one, but I'm very grateful to him for giving us the vote. I think it's a great thing that an issue of this magnitude can be decided by the people as a whole. It's a great mechanism, the referendum, to remind us politicians that we are representatives rather than rulers, and it's our job ultimately to do what we're told by the voters. So I'm grateful to David Cameron for making the whole project possible. If we do get a result to leave, as I say, that, of course, the verdict stands, but we also need to understand that there's a need to carry the whole country together. You know, we can't, as it were, speak only for the 50% who voted leave. And we need to listen to the concerns that the Remainers had about keeping the economic ties with Europe. And that means we won't rush into anything. You know, and
can he stay on? Can he stay on as Prime Minister if the vote is to leave?
Yeah, he can. I mean, whether he will want to is a question that only he can answer, because he's committed himself very strongly. But of course, that's ultimately his call. But the one thing I really would say to people watching in the US is, please do not think for a moment that this is any kind of vote for protectionism or sundering ties with our European trading partners. Quite the opposite. The main argument that we used on economics on my side, on the Leave side, is that the EU was too protectionist. It stood in the way of us having more liberal trading deals with Australia, with India, with the United States, and with other friends and allies in the world. This was really a vote for a more global Britain that will be interested and engaged in the affairs of every continent, including Europe.
Mr. Hannan, thank you very much. We'll be watching, we're all watching very closely. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.